O Murid, always sit in the shape of the letter Ha of the name Allah, meaning in the form of a circle, and when you wish to change position, do it while maintaining this shape. Observe the example of the Shaykh, who despite his many illnesses, persists in the same sitting position for hours. The same is true for the weekly Friday gathering at the Zawiyah, during which the Shaykh observes you. He observes your application of the rules of Adab. He observes if you practice the dhikr aloud. He observes if you stretch your legs during the remembrance of your Lord, which is a grave act and considered an innovation, bid'ah, for the wayfarer, according to Shaykh Mohamed Al-Karkari. May Allah sanctify his secret. Refrain from turning around when you are in a dhikr session or during a mudhakara of the Shaykh. Instead, always remain facing him until he leaves his place, and then you should turn towards the outer qibla, which is Mecca. When my Shaykh, Mulil Hassan, would leave his place, I sat facing the qibla without moving for hours, until someone came to ask me to change my place. Then I recognized it as an order from Allah, Jalla Jalala. When I went on pilgrimage, siyaha, for several days, I sometimes sat facing the qibla without moving, from the Doha prayer until the Maghrib prayer. I waited to receive an inner command from my Lord to be able to leave my place. This sometimes came to me following the Maghrib prayer through a clear sign. As for you, O wayfarer, it will take you a long time to reach this degree, because we ourselves did not achieve it without great difficulty. On the contrary, I sometimes sat for half the day facing a wall towards which I confessed my sins, listing them one by one as if my Lord did not already know them. The true murid must devote immense importance to his qibla until he himself becomes a center and sees the worlds and the entire creation performing the circumambulations, tawaf, around him. Only he who has lived, endured, and tasted all of this can become a shaykh. He is the one who will have set foot in hell before being rejected by it for fear that its fire will go out. Likewise, if he sets his foot in paradise, it will then be the day of the vision of the Lord for its inhabitants, according to the hadith of the wali, where Allah Jalla Jalala, in describing him, tells us, I am the foot with which he walks. All these rules of adab that we mention here must apply to the people of the spiritual secret, as-sir, and these stories that we transmit, we have fully realized and lived ourselves by having more than 3 secrets. In addition, we started applying these rules very early because unlike the disciples today who come to see us, our journey began immediately with the spiritual retreat, the khulwa, without having taken the subha and the daily litany, the wird. Unlike the fuqara who come to us to access the vision of the light, we went to our Shaykh, Sidi Mulil Hassan, having already achieved it. O Murid, it is by constantly being in the presence of the Shaykh in all places and at all times that you will excel in the presence of God. Maintain yourself in this state of divine presence. Only then will you see through your heart, thus benefiting from all things, in all things, and by all things. But if you refuse to consider and sanctify these reminders, and if you reject the advice of the Shaykh, know then that the divine presence will be inaccessible to you. Understand, may Allah open your heart to beautiful comprehension, that the sight of the shuyukh is the paradise of the recognizers, because they see what is behind the veil. Allah tells us in the Holy Quran, you would think that they were awake while they are asleep. Chapter 18, verse 18. Shaykh Moulay Al-Arabi Ad-Darkawi comments on this verse, saying, you think they are looking at this world with the light of the eyes, while they are asleep regarding it. This is because the people of God have disappeared from this illusory world by the light of the truth, and they have exempted themselves from the lower world by the vision of luminous witnessings, mushahadat. So take these pieces of advice, O beloved, and apply them progressively in order to understand the reality of adab. Never belittle others, or everything around you will despise you. Follow this hikmah, this wisdom of our Karkariya path. Humiliate and belittle your lower self, your nafs, and elevate and sanctify others. Pay great attention to everything your eyes perceive. Elevate your neighbor by being careful to have the greatest decorum towards him, not for the creature that he represents in himself, but indeed for the Creator who made him exist. How many have taken this path as entertainment and ended up abandoning it, even though it is persistence, baqa, for eternity. That is why we have tested all the French disciples who have come to us. Before they entered this path, we warned them, informing them of what the bay'ah implies, and encouraging them to reflect before committing. We warned them that those who have committed with us have lost everything, whether their wealth, their wives, and their own nafs. And it was only after warning them that we extended our hand to accept their oath of allegiance, the bay'ah. Indeed, the disciple must grasp the reality of the bay'ah and make sure that he will be able to bear the sacrifices and follow what is asked of him, for it is neither a game nor a pastime. On the contrary, it is a difficult and heavy matter, which engenders a tremendous responsibility, as Allah tells us in the verse of the bay'ah, Surah Fath, verse 10. Those who swear allegiance to you are swearing allegiance to Allah. The hand of Allah is above their hands. Whoever violates the oath does so only to his own detriment, and whoever fulfills his commitment to God, He will soon grant him a great reward. This oath is pre-eternal, and it binds the murid who must hold on to it until his death. That is why we gather every year during the Mawlid an-Nur, that is, the Mawlid an-Nabawi al-Sharif, the celebration of the Prophet ﷺ. During that evening, this oath is renewed so that everyone can be reminded of it, and the one who forgot can begin again with a good or new intention. I still hear the voice of former disciples who testified before me, who testified through many videos swearing by God to remain faithful to His path until death. Where are these disciples today? Have they died? Of course not. But the commitment is not easy, and the one who ends up leaving it is the one who toyed with it. So don't play with such an important and serious subject, or you will be played with. Rabia al-Adawiyya, may Allah be pleased with her, used to say, if you find the door, stand before it until it opens. When asked, and if it doesn't open, she replied, at least you will have found the door of Allah. Let anyone who enters the path of the Karkariya clearly know that he is opening the door of poverty and closing that of wealth. He will taste humiliation and forego greatness. He will open the door of hunger by leaving satiety. He will stay awake and deprive himself of sleep. If you succeed in realizing the characteristics stated, you will then be a sincere disciple. As for the one who has set for himself the goal of women, children, and accumulating wealth, he will only realize distance from his Lord. Indeed, the companion Sa'd ibn Abi Waqqas reported, I said, Ya Rasulullah, ﷺ, which people are tested most severely? The messenger, peace be upon him, replied, they are the prophets, then the next best, then the next best. A man is put to trial according to his religion. If he is firm in his religion, his trials will be more severe. If he is weak, he is put to trial according to his strength in religion. The servant will continue to be put to trial until he is left walking upon the earth without any sin. Sahih Tirmidhi. Allah Jalla Jalala also says in Surah Ankabut verse 2, do the people think that they will be left to say, we believe, and they will not be tried? If the door of adab remains a mystery for the traveler, let him then ask the dog and guardian of this door, which is the Shaykh, as commanded by his Lord Jalla Jalala when he says in Surah Anbiya verse 7, so ask the people of dhikr if you do not know. Observe how in his book Allah guides people towards his love. He has not invited us to turn towards the scholars of the Sharia, but he has called us to question the people who remember the truth, those who are the people of dhikr. A scholar of Islamic sciences or a jurist may have colossal knowledge in their field, but if they do not invoke their Lord as a true scholar would, then keep away from them. For the Prophet ﷺ tells us that two people do not learn, the shy and the proud, Sahih Bukhari. The shy is too embarrassed to ask a question, while the proud would not accept the answer. Therefore, anyone who is not ready to humble himself to learn the true and beneficial sciences will always be veiled by his knowledge. Who then are the knowers of adab? They are those who applied adab before anything else, and who practiced dhikr until they reached marifa, that is, divine knowledge. The disciple must thus constantly return to the Shaykh, as well as to those disciples who have preceded him in love, sincerity, and reverence, ta'zeem, concerning the rules of adab and good manners. Allahumma salli ala Sayyidina Muhammad wa ala ali Sayyidina Muhammad kama sallaita ala Sayyidina Ibrahim wa ala ali Sayyidina Ibrahim wa barik ala Sayyidina Muhammad wa ala ali Sayyidina Muhammad كما باركت على سيدنا إبراهيم وعلى آل سيدنا إبراهيم في العالمين إنك حميد مجيد.